Greetings, viewers, and welcome back to Just Short of Fantastic. Here we are at the end of 2025. Can you believe it? I honestly can't. However, we're here, and this is my year-end holiday, Christmas, whatever you want to celebrate, gift to you, the next installment of my Disney Queer Joy series, Dumbo. Now, it will not come as a surprise to you after Pinocchio when I say that I don't have any Dumbo-related paraphernalia. You can bet, though, that just like with Pinocchio, as a child, we did have a VHS copy of Dumbo in our house, but that was purged when we sold the house. And I, as an adult, didn't really see the need to go out and buy either a DVD or a Blu-ray copy of Dumbo because it just, never really resonated with me that much. And there are better things to spend my money on as an adult. And also, now that I have a subscription to Disney Plus, why would I need to buy a physical copy when it is available online anytime I want it? But it may surprise you to know that on one of our many family trips down to Walt Disney World in Orlando, I bought the Dumbo plush, the very same one that is shown briefly in the 2019 live action adaptation after Dumbo becomes a huge success at the amusement park. They are selling plushies of him, and I had that very same plushie many years before that movie as a child, and I loved that Dumbo plushie. I took it everywhere on that trip, and I had it with me for years. I loved it, but also in the Great House Purge, gone. However, now that I've discovered Sad Nuggy, I do have an elephant Sad Nuggy, and boy howdy, do I love this nug. That's our festive, joyful intro to the next installment of our Disney Queer Joy series and my 2025 year-end gift to you all. Let's go to the circus. Unlike Disney's previous fairy tale adaptations, Dumbo is an American original, with the story written by Helen Aberson and her partner Harold Pearl for a new novelty toy called the Roll-a-Book. None of these toys are thought to still exist today, but the story of Dumbo was sold to Walt Disney in late 1939, and production of the animated feature soon began, with only minor changes to Aberson and Pearl's original text. With its simple story and cartoonish characters, Dumbo was Walt's hope for recovering the losses incurred by Pinocchio and Fantasia. It was made quickly and cheaply, as it didn't use many special effects, and the end result was a 64-minute movie. The distributor, RKO Radio Pictures, asked Walt to add 10 minutes to the runtime. Walt refused, stating that the story couldn't be stretched any further and that he couldn't afford another 10 minutes of animation. Dumbo would be the studio's most financially successful film of the 1940s, and the same factors that caused it to be a financial success, its simple story and cartoonish yet heartwarming characters, have helped to secure its place as a Disney classic in the eyes of many Disney fans. After rewatching the original animated Dumbo as an adult, it's really hard not to see it through a cynical lens and not viewing the moral as, if you have an abnormality, find a way to use it to accrue fame and fortune, and then everyone will love you in our capitalist patriarchy. It's really hard to not attribute that moral to it, especially when you watch it as an adult and you're like, all Dumbo ever wanted was to be with his mother. And isn't that what we all want? It really just empathizes the current state of the American cultural psyche, where people who are not in the majority or cannot pass in the majority are infreaked in some way, and they are ridiculed unless they can rise above that to get fame and fortune, and that will give them a bit of respect and like an untouchable quality to them, when all we really want is just to belong somewhere. Dumbo only wanted to be with his mother. And that's something that all freaks can relate to. We just want somewhere to belong. We just want somewhere where we are accepted with unconditional love, a place that is soft and gentle. And yeah, as a story that has no real queer text to it, the animated Dumbo has a lot of queer subtext. 78 years later, the studio Walt left behind has no problem stretching a story, and they can afford to pay for it. Dumbo the live-action adaptation was announced in 2014 and released in 2019. Unlike its animated predecessor, it was a big financial loss for the studio, garnering mixed reviews, with many critics complaining about the overcomplication to a simple and wondrous story. Although the diverse casting for the circus family under Max Medici, played brilliantly by Danny DeVito, is a much-needed update to the original, which infamously depicted Black Americans as faceless roustabouts, making disparaging remarks about themselves, as well as the inclusion of the scientific-minded daughter Billy and the fierce and brazen performer Colette. The new central story of a man learning how to be a father after returning from World War I is a bit of a letdown. Considering the freedom they had with the simple story, I expected to see something new and innovative. Alas, what was once a bright and cheerful wonder tale about the joy between a mother and her son has been rendered into a joyless examination of American fatherhood. Thanks, Disney. The live adaptation of Dumbo came out in 2019, right before the world went crazy with the COVID-19 panic the following spring. However, I have to say that I didn't really have many expectations for the movie when I went in to see it in the theaters. I can say that I cried a little in the opening montage when Casey Jr. is going from town to town and the Casey Jr. song was playing. You know, Casey Jr. coming down the track, Casey Jr.'s back with the big smokestack. That's played in instrumental. The live adaptation is not a musical, although Baby Mine is played, which is good. Because it is such an iconic song for Dumbo. However, not a musical, but when the Casey Jr. music was playing as the train was going through to all the different towns, I did tear up a little in the theater because that was so nostalgic for me. Not specifically because of the animated movie Dumbo, but because that Casey Jr. music is played at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando when they do the opening of the park for the day, and that just really hit me. Living overseas, I had really missed going to Walt Disney World, and hearing that music again just triggered like a lot of emotions and memories. And so I did cry at the opening montage, but then I have to say it was all downhill from there. My initial theater impression of Dumbo 2019 was actually quite depressing. I left the theater feeling very hollow and depressed. But I'm happy to say that rewatching it several years later, post-pandemic, and for the point of looking at it through a queer lens, I did enjoy myself more. I didn't finish the movie feeling hollow or depressed. If anything, I felt a little uplifted because it is a story of hope and progress, and while it doesn't have a lot of queer subtext, I'd actually argue it has less queer subtext than the animated version because because Dumbo's whole thing, which is the center of the story in Dumbo, the animated movie, that becomes sort of a side thing in the 2019 live adaptation. That story really centers the family, the Ferrier family, and the whole story of like a veteran father coming home from the war. His wife has died in the Spanish influenza epidemic of the 1919s, and that story of a father like learning how to be a father without his wife and being estranged from his children and not having an arm because he lost it in the war. And so that story takes center place, and that's not a queer story. It's just not. So there's a lot less queer subtext in 2019 than there was in the original Dumbo. But it is very much a feminist story. There's a lot of feminine empathy that runs through the story. There is the daughter, Millie, who wants to be a scientist. She doesn't want to be in the circus. There is Colette, who is a very fiery, independent, strong-willed Parisian street performer who befriends the Ferrier family and Dumbo. So very strong female vibes, and a strong message of empathy. I would say that the queerest thing about the 2019 Dumbo is when the whole circus family comes together to rescue Dumbo's mother from captivity and to reunite her with her baby Dumbo, because that's, you know, a family, a found family working together for a common goal against like the mainstream capitalist billionaire who is wanting to exploit them. So that's queer. However, it's not the main gist of the story, which is really the disappointing part of Dumbo, is that circuses historically have been that place of gathering for minorities, for people who are freakish by the standards of mainstream society. And so circuses have always been places of queer mixing and like queer representation, if not like full representation. It's like, look at these people who are different, but outside of the performances, there's actually so much time that those people spend together, like as a family. And so it is a place of belonging, and outside of the performances and the exploitative way of using whatever their freakish quality is to make money. I mean, make a living however you can. But outside of those performative moments, there was probably so much camaraderie and a sense of belonging, and I would like to hope that these found families traveled around the country and gave each other that sense of belonging and that soft and gentle space to be their authentic selves. So circuses, always queer, or at least queer adjacent, but Dumbo, I mean, I have to say, it was very disappointing to me, looking at it through a queer lens. Dumbo 2019 Queer Joy rating, I have to give it the lowest score so far. It's a 3 out of 10. It's queer adjacent at best, but not queer. And another thing from the live action adaptation that just like really bothers me is the complete loss of Timothy Q. Mouse as a character, because Timothy Q. Mouse is an amazing character, possibly the best character from the animated Dumbo movie. He is just, he's so great. He's so like lively and fun, and he just stands by Dumbo no matter what. And honestly, like, Timothy Q. Mouse is, how do I phrase this? Timothy Q. Mouse should have the same level of recognition as Jiminy Cricket gets. Because Jiminy Cricket was Pinocchio's conscience, but he was reluctant. He wasn't great at it. And yet we have this mythology of Jiminy Cricket as like this character within the Disney canon who is just like righteous and good, and like he's revered, right? But then Timothy Q. Mouse, who's like had no relationship to Dumbo at all, was just a mouse looking for peanuts, saw this sad baby elephant and just adopted this baby elephant as like his best friend and was like, no, kid, you're with me now. We're gonna make this happen. Like, you got big ears? I don't care. Society laughs at you? Whatever. Forget them. We're gonna make you a star. Like, Timothy Q. Mouse should be in the highest echelon of Disney characters, alongside, if not above, Jiminy Cricket, and yet he's often forgotten, and I feel like that is a crime. Justice for Timothy Q. Mouse, because he is like the hype mouse that we all need. So I feel Timothy Q. Mouse in the animated Dumbo is also like queer-ish, queer vibes, gives queer vibes, not in the stereotypical queer-coded way that Disney gave to a lot of their early villains, but just queer in the sense that like he he doesn't go with the mainstream, and he like questions what everybody is saying and doing. He's just like, nah, I like peanuts and I like having a good time, and I see a baby elephant in trouble and I'm gonna help him out because I'm a good person. That's what I do. And like, he's just, he's an unattached bachelor. I get like asexual from Timothy Q. Mouse. I get just like fun loving ace, aro, just out there living his best life. That to me is that's queer. That is queer. That's a queer character right there. And maybe that's why we've all forgotten Timothy Q. Mouse. He will live forever in my heart as Dumbo's best friend and professional hype mouse. And I feel in the queer community, we can all use a professional hype mouse. All right, anyway, that is my long rant about justice for Timothy Q. Mouse and how he is essentially erased from the 2019 live action adaptation because they wanted to center humans and not the animals. And that's a loss, honestly. That is a great loss.